What is Eclipse to a mainframe developer? A tutorial from Xact Consulting.
Who should use this tutorial?
This tutorial is meant for mainframe programmers who want to learn about the Eclipse platform and Rational Developer for Z series as a modern platform for mainframe development.
Purpose of the tutorial.
When you have finished this tutorial, you should have a basic understanding of the Eclipse platform. This includes concepts like its background, its internal structure, and its user interface.
This is important, since Eclipse is the underlying platform for Rational Developer for Z series. What is Eclipse?
Eclipse is a Java program that serves as a platform and runtime for various applications with a similar look and feel. It can be extended at all levels and in almost any direction. Eclipse is to the Java community on Windows, Unix, Linux and Mac, what IMS and CICS is to the ZOS community. It is an environment designed to make development and execution of application programs easier. Eclipse is open source. It is downloadable for free, but many vendors have built their commercial products on top of Eclipse. Eclipse is primarily used as an IDE, an integrated development environment, but can also be used as a rich client platform for other applications. Eclipse can also be run in what is called the headless mode, where you use the runtime, but not the user interface. This means that Eclipse can run headless on ZOS as an extension to the Java runtime. Products such as Rational Developer for Z series, and also Lotus Notes, are built on top of Eclipse. Eclipse itself goes back to 2001, but it started as the successor to IBM's Visual Age tools. The Visual Age tools were originally developed back in the 1980s by a Canadian company called Object Technology International. This company was acquired by IBM in 1996. IBM has since then donated Eclipse to the open source community. First as an unofficial consortium with 50 partners. Later the Eclipse project has been handed over to a formal Eclipse Foundation.
The board of directors of the Eclipse Foundation includes members like CA, IBM, Nokia, Oracle, and SAP. There are sponsors like Amazon, Cisco, Novell, Intel, Google, HP, and there is over 170 members including IT companies, user companies, and universities.
Since 2004, Eclipse has released a new version each year in June. Since 2006 they have had nicknames, mostly names of the moons of Jupiter. RDZ currently runs on top of Eclipse version 3.6 and requires a Java version from IBM.
On this slide we have the official Eclipse definition, taken from the eclipse.org website.
The definition stresses that Eclipse is an extensible platform with a plug-in model for new features. It provides a common look and feel for many tools. And it has a solid architecture as its basis.
Eclipse provides a lot of functionality.
The platform runtime defines the extension point and plug-in model. Resource management, or the workspace, supports creating and managing resources like projects, files, and folders that are produced by tools and kept in the file system. The Workbench user interface implements the user cockpit for navigating the platform. The help system defines extension points for help and other documentation. Team support defines a team programming model for managing and versioning resources. It works together with external tools like Endeavor and ChangeMan. Debug support defines a language-independent debug model. And finally, other utilities supply functionalities such as searching and comparing resources, performing builds that use XML configuration files, and dynamically updating the platform from a server.
Perhaps we should underline some of the design principles in Eclipse.
Everything is per definition possible. And it can normally be done in several different ways. You can find the one that suits you the best while you get used to work with Eclipse. You can customize your workbench to work like you want to do. And we will show you later in this tutorial how to do some of this.
It is important to know that everything can be done either with a mouse or with the keyboard. You can work which way you want, and change between them. There are very many shortcuts supplied with Eclipse and with RDZ. You can add or change shortcuts in your own workbench. Eclipse supports many programming languages by means of various plugins. You are probably mainly interested in COBOL, High-Level Assembler, and PL1.
It also supports many modeling languages, which are used from modeling programs, services and processes. And you can program for other platforms like Android phones.
What does Eclipse look like? Eclipse is a relatively small program in itself. This is what it looks like when nothing is running inside it. If we click on the button, we get a list of perspectives. Here we have an instance of Eclipse with only a few perspectives available. Your instance of Eclipse with RDZ on top of it will of course have many more perspectives to choose from. So we better had a look at perspectives and the other components of the Eclipse user interface. Now we have opened the Eclipse workbench. What we have is RDZ running with its default perspective, which is called Enterprise Development.
The workbench consists of different areas called views. A view can be a list, a table, a tree or another representation of data. A view can also be an editor, where we can work with programs, data, properties, JCL, models, and almost anything else.
Here we have opened a view with a fractal editor. And here is a view with an image viewer. It will not help you much programming COBOL, but it demonstrates the versatility of the workbench. Eclipse is also the foundation for several process modeling tools.
This is WebSphere Business Modeler from IBM. Again, you can see some views to the left and an editor view to the right.
This of course is what you will be looking at more often in the future. This is the RDZ COBOL editor running on top of Eclipse.
The Eclipse user interface presents a number of views. The Remote Systems view shows local and remote systems. The Enterprise Projects view shows the data sets we are working on currently. The Properties view change along with where we have the focus in our work. Right now it shows the block sizes, organization, size, location and other properties of a mainframe data set. At the bottom of the workbench we have a number of other views. In the middle we have a COBOL editor opened.
If we change the active view in the lower left corner to the outline view, we can see the outline of the COBOL program we are currently editing.
Now let us discuss the components of the Eclipse user interface a bit deeper.
The Eclipse workbench is the environment in which all of your application development will be performed.
A perspective is a visual container for a set of views and editors. A view is a container or window used to navigate a hierarchy of information, open an editor, or display properties for the active editor. An editor is a visual program that displays or lets you change documents such as source code and properties.
The Eclipse workbench is the outermost window of the application.
Inside the workbench are one or more perspectives. Each perspective opens a number of views inside the workbench. A view contains a widget like an editor, a tree structure, or a list of items.
The Eclipse file system is a logical system that maps the real systems, which can be local and remote. When you work with RDZ, you can have some data locally on your workstation, some data can reside on a server, and most of your programs, copybooks, JCL, and other data will reside on the mainframe. The logical file system is structured in several levels.
A workspace is a directory that allows a user to gather various source code files and resources and work with them as a cohesive unit. A working set is a logical structure that can reduce scope to only include some your projects. A project is a logical structure containing a number of sub-projects. A sub-project contains files and folders and properties connected to them. A folder is representation of a file on your workstation or server or a data set on the mainframe. A file is a representation of a single local file or a member of a data set on the mainframe.
A workspace is a directory containing all your work in a certain area.
You can switch between multiple workspaces, but you can only work on one workspace at a time. Inside the workspace you have a number of projects. Projects can be specialized and be connected to certain perspectives. Projects contain sub-projects. In RDZ they will typically be MVS or ZOS Unix sub-projects. Inside a sub-projects you have the usual hierarchy of folders and files. Behind the scenes this are the usual set of directories on a disk on your workstation or server and data sets on the host.
Now let us see Eclipse at work in a small demo.
We have Rational Developer for Z installed in this instance of Eclipse. We will run through the steps mentioned on this slide.
We start with an empty workbench, where we will open a perspective.
Click the Open Perspective button.
The Open Perspective window opens.
Select the Enterprise Development item. Click the OK button.
Now the perspective has opened, and we can see all the views inside it. When we begin, we have no connection to the host yet.
Right-click the host name. Select the Connect menu item. Then wait until the connection has been made.
The connection is made between the workbench and a started task on the host using TCP/IP.
When the connection is ready, select the ZOS project. Then select the MVS sub-project.
Remember that these are just logical groupings defined in the workbench.
Then select a folder.
The folder is a mapping of a partitioned data set on the host. The last part of the data set name is COBOL. This is normally known as the type. The type is used by the workbench to decide the type of the members inside.
Then right-click a file.
The file is in reality a member in the partitioned data set. The file extension is CBL, meaning a COBOL program. This is a logical mapping inside the workbench.
Select the Open with menu item. Select the COBOL editor menu item.
There are other editors available in the workbench, but the COBOL editor is best suited to edit COBOL programs. The COBOL program has now been opened in the COBOL editor view. The source from the host has been cached in the workbench. Behind the scenes it has also been locked to prevent editing by another programmer, both in Eclipse and in ISPF.
We have opened the COBOL editor, and we are ready to do some editing. The internal syntax check in Eclipse notifies us of a few warnings.
The yellow marker in the upper right corner notifies us of one or more warnings. Errors are marked with a red marker. Information markers are blue. Information markers can be to-do tasks placed in your source by Eclipse or by a tester or a code reviewer. There are also yellow markers in the scroll bar to the right. Each represents a line with a warning.
When we select a marker, Eclipse will scroll to the line with the error.
There is an error marker in the left margin.
When we select it, we will get a description of the warning. In some cases Eclipse will also offer a quick fix.
In this case we are just notified that Eclipse is unable to resolve the references to two fields, which has not been declared.
If we select the previous annotation button in the toolbar, we are taken to a previous warning. If we select the warning marker in the left margin, we are presented with a quick fix suggestion. By double-clicking the quick fix suggestion, we can correct the statement.
Each time we save the code, Eclipse will check the syntax, so we can gradually improve the code in the workbench, before we submit it to the compiler. Now let us look closer at views and perspectives.
Remember that a perspective is a visual container for a set of views and editors. And a view is a window used to navigate a hierarchy of information, open an editor, or to display properties for the active editor.
Let us open another view, which is not part of the enterprise development perspective.
Select the window menu item. Select the Show View menu item. Select the Other menu item.
The Show View window opens.
Click the OK button.
The Test Navigator view has been added temporarily to the perspective. It opens in the lower part of the workbench. If we open too many views, or if we move views and editors around the workbench while working, we might want to tidy it all up again. In that case, we can easily reset the perspective to its default look.
Right-click the Enterprise Development tab. Select the Reset menu item.
The Reset Perspective window opens.
Click the OK button.
The perspective has been reset. Now let us open another perspective without closing the current one.
Select the window menu item. Select the Open Perspective menu item. Select another perspective.
The CICSSM perspective has opened. The same editor view is still visible as before. And the other perspective still shows in the tab in the upper right corner of the workbench. We can switch directly between open perspectives.
Select the Enterprise Development Perspective tab.
And we are right back where we were. We can move views around freely in the workbench.
They can be dragged and dropped in many more ways than we can show here. You can place them freely in all corners of the workbench.
You can remove them temporarily from the workspace. And you can expand them as needed.
This concludes the demonstration.
Eclipse is a tool with many advantages.
Tools built upon Eclipse have a common look and feel, even if they come from different vendors. Eclipse is easy to extend using Java, so it can be customized to your own needs. Various environments can coexist inside the same Eclipse workbench, so you can switch between perspectives instead of between programs. Eclipse can automatically update your tools and itself.
But there are naturally also some disadvantages.
The number of options and parameters can be quite overwhelming. You can change many things, but most users will prefer to use their default customization. Too many tools and too many open perspectives and views in one Eclipse workbench can make it run slowly. You might need to reset or close perspectives if you are starting too many views. Eclipse is the de facto standard in Java and open source communities as well as for IBM and many other vendors, but not in Microsoft environments.
Now is the time for a short quiz before we are finished. What did we just discuss?
Eclipse is a platform for building integrated web and application development tooling. It has a common user interface model. At the core is an architecture for dynamic discovery, loading, and running of plugins. The user interface contains a workbench, perspectives and views. The file system consists of workspaces, working sets, projects, subprojects, folders, and files.
Where to go next?
You can contact Xact Consulting at this email address to get more information on how we can help you.
Where to learn more?
This slide points to a few websites where you can explore much more about Eclipse. This has been a tutorial from Xact Consulting about the Eclipse platform.